Good morning. It is Sunday, June 11th, just after 10 a.m. California time, Pacific Daylight Time right now. And I'm very excited to be the host of Relief Through Release. And let's see if I can get my screen share started. This always seems like a challenge. Let's go this way. There we go. All right, ladies. Welcome, welcome. Let me get a drink of my tea. My face is a little bit red. I just had an allergy attack, so I think actually I'll go ahead and turn my video off for the first part of this. If I can remember how to do it. There we go. All right, now we don't have that distraction in there. All right. So, welcome to Relief Through Release. This is week 2, and we are in the planning phase. So make sure that you're somewhere comfortable where you won't get distracted. Have a pen handy and something to write notes on. You really just need to write down the things that stand out for you. I am absolutely going to share every bit that I can in the follow-up email each day. That will include all of your playtime activities. It will include notes on the topic that was discussed and all of that. And you're welcome to take screenshots when the slide is up that it has all the information on that you want. But a lot of times just having a pen and paper handy is really nice because I remember things better when I actually write them down. Just because I'm making the thought go from my brain through my hand onto the paper. It's part of my learning process. So again, don't feel like you have to take all the notes. Just have a pen and paper handy. Make sure you set your phone on silent so no one can disturb you. Grab your favorite beverage so we can stay hydrated, and then sit back, relax, and enjoy. Every week or every time we meet, we're going to start with 3 superpowers, you guys: breathing, appreciation, and I am. So let's just start with 3 nice, deep, grounding breaths. Just getting present in the room. And then get out your pen and paper and write down 3 things that you can appreciate in this moment. Anything at all, anything in your world that you are appreciating. It's a really good practice to let the universe know that you are appreciating those things. And when you've written 3 things that you appreciate, excuse me, little frog in my throat, I would love to have you write 3 I am statements. And I'm just going to pull up the next slide to help you with your I am statements. Any of these words here are ones that you can attach to yourself that have a positive meaning. When we attach I am to something, remember, we are claiming it as our own. So any of these are fine, or any others that resonate for you are awesome. And if you need a little more time when you're doing the replay, you can always just stop the recording and then come back when you're ready. So today we're going to talk about what else. That's the topic today, is what else. I would like to have you get out your pleasure inventory. That was one of the playtime activities from last week. If you had a chance to play with that, go ahead and get out the list. If you didn't, don't worry about it. We're going to play with it a little bit now, and I'm going to encourage you to continue playing with it throughout this program. And hey, I think that must be Maria. I am not seeing the screen right now, so I will just assume that is Maria. You got here just in time. We are starting on today's topic. Hang on just a second. Can I do that? No. Let's see. That's okay. All right. So today's topic, we're going to start right in. If you're just arriving, go ahead and have a nice deep breath and give yourself a chance to sort of arrive here in the room. We're going to talk about what else. That's our topic. So you're going to get out your pleasure inventory. If you had a chance to play with that this week, that was one of the playtime activities. If you didn't have a chance to play with it yet, don't worry about that. We're going to play with it a little bit now, and I'm going to encourage you to continue playing with it throughout the entirety of our 2 months together. It's a great practice. So for this next bit, you're going to use the pleasure inventory that you created if you've got it, and then the cure for any unconscious behavior is to introduce consciousness or awareness, right? We want to bring awareness to all of our situations. If the unconscious behavior that we're trying to change is eating to regulate our emotions, which remember is a highly effective way to regulate emotions, then introducing consciousness might look like this. We consciously ask ourselves in the moment that we want to emotionally eat or to eat to soothe our emotions, we ask ourselves, what else? What else can I do other than eating food to regulate my emotional experience? This is an important question, and we're going to answer it at least partially today. So what helps me individually, me as a person, not like in general, but I want you to start narrowing down the pieces that help you feel relaxed, feel some goodness in the world, in the life, to get centered or grounded, to feel pleasure, to feel happy, or to feel alive, okay? So finding things that allow us to feel good easily, to feel relaxed and centered and pleasured and happy is how we regulate our emotional experience. This is why we begin with our pleasure inventory. Anything on your pleasure inventory can be used to regulate your emotions in place of food, okay? So let's talk a little bit about some examples of what else we can do to regulate our emotions. Now, I'm going to give you a long, extensive list. You do not need to write down the entire list. I will absolutely include the entire list in today's email so that you'll have the whole thing there. But as we go through this list together, I encourage you to write down the ones that instantly resonate for you, the ones that pop out and feel like good options upon first hearing them, okay? So here is a long list of examples of what else we can do to regulate our emotions besides turning to sugary sweets or whatever food we're choosing to regulate our emotion. Listening to fun music, right? That's a great way to regulate our emotions. Turn it up loud, right? That can be fun. That can completely change or shift the energy pattern that you're feeling, right? Great music can absolutely do that for us. Any kind of movement that you enjoy, any kind of movement of your body at all can help regulate emotions. Dancing is a great way to regulate our emotions. Stretching the body. We oftentimes, let me get a drink. We oftentimes sit for long periods of time, and stretching after we've been sitting for a long period of time is a great way to release any lactic acid that's built up in our muscles and actually release stuck emotions. So stretching is a great way to do that. Deep breathing. We've talked several times about that deep grounding breath and how powerful that can be. Getting out in nature is a great way to change or to regulate our emotions, right? If we're feeling crappy, take a 10 or 15 minute walk outside. It's amazing what a difference that makes. Watch a happy, goofy, silly video on YouTube or a movie that you enjoy. Hang out with your pet, right? Pets are great emotional regulators. Read something inspirational. We're going to talk more later about my toy box. I have a toy box full of links to different inspirational speakers, books, YouTube videos, and just touching base with things that inspire us on a regular basis is a really powerful way to regulate our emotions, because remember, energy attracts like energy. So if we're feeling inspired more of the time, we're going to attract things that inspire us, okay? Listening to an uplifting podcast. I'm sure that all of you have heard me mention my favorite podcast, The Spiritual Sandbox. There's a link for it right here, the Spiritual Sandbox Podcast, all one word.com, and there will be a link in the email today. There will also be a link to the episode of Spiritual Sandbox where I was a guest and we talked about why your body is your best fucking friend. More examples of what we can do to regulate our emotions. Talk with someone that you love and trust. If you have somebody in your life, a sister, a friend, a coach, very positive way to regulate our own emotions. Create a support network that you can call when you want to avoid the emotional eating. This is great, right? Like, this is something people who are trying to avoid alcohol do, right? They call a sponsor, like, I'm trying to avoid having a drink, call a sponsor. Any kind of art or craft is a great way to regulate our emotions and something that we can enjoy. Any kind of hobby, just go for a walk, take a shower or soak in the tub or a hot tub. Put your feet in some cold water. That is a great way to regulate emotions. Put your feet in some hot water, put some Epsom salts in it, right? Just changing our physical being often can regulate our emotions, can change the way that our emotions are flowing. Focus on something interesting that you can learn online. There must be a million different things to learn on YouTube. Go to your favorite power spot, right? If there's a garden or a park nearby or a place in your yard, you know, that you can kind of recharge your energy, that is a great way to regulate emotions. Do some yoga if you're into yoga. Make sounds, sing, yell, pet your heart. This is one of my favorites. Often I just reach my right hand up to my heart, take a deep grounding breath, and just pet my heart. It feels so soothing. Try that. I talk to myself out loud as if I were a friend, right? So if I feel like I'm having some dysregulated emotions, I imagine myself as a good friend, and I say things to myself, sometimes in the mirror, that I would say to that friend or to my daughter if she were experiencing an emotional dysregulation like I'm currently in, or right at that moment. I hug myself. Wrap your arms around your shoulders and just kind of rock back and forth and pat yourself on the shoulders and give yourself a hug, right? Hugging is so underrated. Hug a friend, hug everyone. Take a nap. Like, as adults, we do not offer ourselves the opportunity to take a nap nearly as often as we could and probably as we would like, right? It's like we have toddlers, we make sure they take a nap, we make sure that they replenish their energy, and we don't do the same for ourselves. So taking a nap can kind of be like plugging in your cell phone battery, you know, right? If you don't charge the phone, it runs out of power. Go to the beach. Write yourself a love letter. This like sounds a little corny to some people, but it's incredibly powerful. It's a tool that I have used many times. If you shower yourself with the kind of love that you're yearning to receive from the universe, your brain doesn't know if it's coming from outside of yourself or if you're creating it yourself. And once you're embodying that energy of reading this love letter, there's these beautiful words written to you with an open heart, you're going to be attracting more things that draw that kind of love. So write yourself a love letter, read it out loud. And what else? What else is a game without end? Because we're constantly exposed to new things that might fill the bill, right? So play with this list. Everything that I just mentioned will be in the email later today. I want you to use the list not as like things that you have to do. If there's things on there that don't resonate for you, just scratch them out. You don't have to add those to your toolbox, right? Any of them that really resonate for you, I want you to make sure that they get added to your list. Think of this list as your emotional Bible. It contains the secret to your success. I'm not even kidding you guys. The reason that we turn to the food is because it's highly effective at regulating our emotions. And when we need our emotions regulated, we run for it, unless we've practiced other things, right? So this list is the secret to success. It contains everything else that you can do in the moment other than eat sugar when we want to soothe emotions. I want you to use the list, look at it for ideas. Whenever you're feeling the need to emotionally eat, see if you can refer to your list instead and try one of the alternatives instead of sugar in that moment. Create a quick reference list of your top 10 favorites on that list and keep it in your phone or your wallet, right? So at any point throughout the day, if you need something, then you've got it right there. Use the lists as best you can, make the effort, experiment with them. Like the more you practice these pieces, the more they're going to uplift you and attract energy like that uplifting feeling, right? And the less we'll need to regulate those emotions. So what I'm saying is make this a practice. It has to be a practice. Essentially, we're replacing an unwanted habit that does not work for you, turning to sugar for emotional regulation, with a habit that does work for you, like turning to music or doing some deep breathing, for example, right? Whichever those like resonate for you. This is a practice for you to do during this program and throughout the rest of your life, right? So does anyone have any questions on the what else list? And is there anything else that you'd like to add? Go ahead and unmute yourself now if you'd like to share that or have any questions at all. And if not, that's fine. If you find that you have questions later, text me. I'll be here for you. So here's another biggie. What should I do if I eat off plan? A lot of times if we make a plan and we're going with the plan and then we step one foot off the plan, we beat the crap out of ourselves for lack of willpower. We decide the plan is too hard and we don't care anyway, so fuck the plan, and we go back to eating whatever we like. So what we're going to talk about now is how not to do that. If we should eat off of our chosen plan during our 21-day release, what can we do? Most of all, don't beat up on yourself. That is rule number one. Self-criticism causes negative emotions that will drive us to eat to soothe those emotions. It's a vicious cycle that can only be stopped when we stop criticizing ourselves for what we see as mistakes or failures. So, what should I do if I eat off plan? First of all, take a deep grounding breath, right? That's always my answer. Ooh. Breathing is always the first response. Breathing intentionally gives us space to make a choice. Remind yourself that this is not the end of the world and it's not the end of the plan, because you have a plan for what to do if you eat off plan, okay? Then in that moment, I want you to find 3 things to appreciate. It could be your bed or your pillows or your water heater or your pets or your comfy slippers or anything that you truly appreciate in that moment. This helps shift our energy, right? We shift that energy into the negative because we've been in the negative and we're shifting it toward the positive by finding things that we truly appreciate in that moment. And then 3 I am statements. But this time I'm going to give you 3 specific I am statements. I am human. I am learning. And I am getting better at this. Then take another deep grounding breath. Feel how different that energy is after doing that short little practice right there, right? And then we're going to get curious instead of being critical. Curious instead of critical is the process that we use when we eat off plan so that we don't end up chucking the whole plan, okay? Get curious instead of critical. Now, you can feel free to write these curiosity questions down to help you remember them, or take a screenshot once the whole list is on the screen. And these questions will be listed in the email later today, so you'll have the full list handy. So whatever works for you as a way to remember this process, which is crucial to releasing the sugar, releasing the negative self-talk, and releasing whichever other foods you're choosing to release, okay? So getting curious instead of critical is the first process that I'm giving you. First of all, what did you eat that wasn't on your protocol? What triggered you? Okay, so maybe you had a stressful day at work. That's a trigger for a lot of people. Or maybe you got stuck in crappy traffic, or maybe you had to talk to your mother-in-law, or who knows what kind of stress is coming up for you in your personal life. Get curious about that. What was it triggered you? What thought were you thinking when you decided to give in to the urge to soothe with food? What thoughts were going through your head? What emotion were you trying to avoid or soothe? If you can name the emotion, like maybe you were angry at your spouse, maybe you were sad about something a friend told you, maybe you were stressed about something at work. What emotion, if you can name that emotion that you're trying to soothe, that's a huge helpful step in the process. What else could you have done to soothe instead of using the food, right? So maybe turn to your what else list, your favorite top 10, and be like imagine yourself actually doing one of those things instead of having turned to the food, right? We're just getting curious about what was actually going on. We're looking at it instead of just calling ourselves failure and beating ourselves up, right? We're getting curious. What did you learn about yourself? There's always something there that we can learn. How can you let this go now and move forward without the negative self-talk? And how do you want to feel about this moving forward, right? Like, do you want to feel that you've failed and just forget about the whole thing moving forward? Not likely, right? We most likely would like to feel that we can be successful at doing this, right? So we can feel that this is a minor setback or a teaching moment where we're open to learning as we move forward. I hope that makes sense. Whoops. Yeah. So what did you learn? And what will you do next time? So essentially, you're replacing the unwanted habit that doesn't work for you, right? And possibly the most important curiosity question is going to be, what can I do to soothe myself now, right? Normally, we'd be beating ourselves up, criticizing ourselves. So the most important curiosity question is, what can I do now to soothe myself instead of criticizing myself? You've already created an extensive list of ways to soothe without food. So this is the perfect time to pull it out and soothe our emotions instead of creating more negative emotions that need soothing. This is how we break the cycle. So before I move on, are there any questions about replacing criticism with curiosity? You don't have to use all of the questions every time. I just want you to look at them when you're wanting to beat yourself up, okay? Or when you step off the food plan without planning to. Remember, this is a new behavior and it's going to take some practice. So let's be easy with ourselves as we learn it. All right, so if you've got any questions about replacing criticism with curiosity, unmute yourself now, go ahead and ask, or you can text me later. Awesome sauce. We still have 1 week of planning left before we start the release phase. So let's take a look at our plan. Which level are you planning to play? Have you decided which level of game is right for you? Do you need some help deciding? It's good to make the choice in the next day or two so you've got a full week to plan what to buy and what you're going to be eating and even what still needs to be cleaned out of the kitchen, right? So, does anyone have any questions about the different levels that we talked about last week? This is the time to get clarity, so let me know if you still need some more information before choosing. And if you're happy with the game level that you've already chosen, that's fine. Or if you still need some directions on this later, after watching the recording, feel free to contact me, you guys. Anytime by text or email is fine. Let's talk about groceries and shopping. Grocery lists and making time to shop are an important part of the planning stage of the release. Please remember that last week's email had the food lists of all kinds of different foods, and I will be repeating that and putting those food lists in today's email as well in case you need them. Use those lists to create a list of abundant foods that you will be eating according to your own plan throughout the 3 weeks of release phase. And please make time to shop no later than next Saturday, you guys, so that we're prepared to eat on plan beginning Sunday, June 18th. That's the first day of our release, okay? When we're super busy and feel like we don't have time to shop, remember that shopping online for delivery or pickup can speed up the process and help us stay on track with our plan. So if we're having a super busy career, we might need to use some of these other alternatives to help with the shopping, right? It makes complete sense. Take advantage of those if you need to. Yes, the food journal. In today's email, there will be a PDF link. There will be a link to a PDF that you can download. It looks just like this food journal right here, okay? Now, you can download them and print them out if you find them useful, but it's not required. And this is a great time to remind you that nothing I offer is have to in this program, right? Use all the pieces that resonate for you, that speak to you, that work for you, and let the rest be there for someone else to use with whom it resonates, okay? For me personally, a written plan makes all the difference. My clever little brain has figured out that if there's no written plan and we get hungry, we get the fastest thing available no matter what that is. Even if it's crap food, even if it's not on a plan, that's what we do because there's no plan. If I simply jot down what I'm eating tomorrow for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, I'm 80% more likely to eat on plan because I actually have a plan, okay? So that having been said, I don't use this particular food journal. I basically just use a little yellow tablet and I write down breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, and sometimes I'll have an after dinner snack if I've planned for it. And so I just write down what I'm having tomorrow. That's all I do, right? And then the next day, I actually know what I'm eating. So setting intentions and knowing your why. Why we are doing something is very important. It's a super important part of planning. If we don't have compelling reasons to do something challenging, it's easy not to follow through. This is often a big part of why we don't reach our goals. If we tell ourselves that we must lose weight because we're too fat, we likely won't reach our goal because our why is not compelling enough to inspire us to change. And we trigger our compulsion to eat to cover hard feelings from being judged fat, right? So it's like this compounding thing. So we want to take time to consider why we want to release the negative self-talk, the sugar, and certain other foods for 3 weeks. Why? What is our why? Now, I'm going to offer you 10 questions to help you dial in your why. And I ask you to consider playing with at least some of them in your notebook this week. Speaking of notebooks, I know that Laura was really excited about sharing hers with us, but she is helping her kids move across the country this week. So maybe next week we will share our notebooks. We can get on the Zoom and show them to each other, okay? If you want to, you certainly don't have to. Like I said, nothing in this program is have to, it's all optional. So 10 questions on intention setting. What will be some rewards and benefits of taking a break from sugar for 21 days? That's a great question. What are some of the things we're going to get out of this, right? Why am I ready to release sugar now? So what makes this time in your life the right time to let go of sugar? What is my motivation for releasing sugar? And remember, these questions will be listed in the email later, you guys. What gets me excited about releasing sugar? Like, is there a certain symptom from which you're looking forward to getting relief? Is there something else? If we can tie excitement to our why, then enthusiasm carries this inspiration to keep going, right? What specific goal do I have for the 21 days? Now, no specific goal is needed, but if you have one, name it and claim it as your prize. Like, you've already won it by virtue of deciding to release sugar, right? Does that make sense? Like, if you want to like lose 5 pounds, just for an example, you could be like, I'm going to lose 5 pounds. I've already lost 5 pounds. I have decided to release sugar, and my prize is I've lost 5 pounds. Or my skin rash has cleared up, or my night sweats have gone away. That's a big prize for Cindy. Like, when I get on the sugar, the night sweats are horrific. And when I get off the sugar, it's amazing how well I sleep. It's crazy. So if you have a specific goal, like release of a particular symptom, name it and claim it as if it's already your prize. What beliefs might be holding me back? This is another biggie. If we can see potential stumbling points, right? And maybe we can recognize them because we've stumbled on those points before, then we can create strategies to work around them. So let's take a look at those beliefs that might be holding you back. This is just some ideas, some questions that you can play with this week to dial in your why. How can I nourish myself beyond food? So this might mean physical, mental, or spiritual nourishment. What other ways would you love to be nourishing yourself, right? Maybe it's spending more time with your children, or maybe it's spending more time alone with your journal, or maybe it's taking more time to walk in nature. Like, what other ways are you wanting to be nourishing yourself during this time? What self-care plans can I put into place? Like, do you want to schedule some more rest, get a massage, eke out a little extra time just for yourself? Like, what does self-care mean to you, and how can you incorporate more of that? Lots of women who give nonstop and don't make time for themselves will turn to food as a substitute for self-care. So self-care is a crucial part of making sustainable change. Because if we're not caring for ourselves, we can use that food as a substitute for the self-care, right? Does that resonate for you guys? And then what are some non-food rewards that I can give myself? Or what else, Liz, can be used here for inspiration? Or you can also count treats like new clothing, or getting a mani-pedi, or a girls' night out, or a girls' trip, or something like that, or anything that feels like a reward to you that feels good and fits in your budget, right? These are some non-food rewards. And then, where do I feel I need some more support? Is there anything you can think of that you might need to reach your goal? And how can we incorporate that? So these planning questions are really just for you to think about, to help you dial in your why, so that like on day 15 or 16, when you're ready to chuck the whole thing, you can look at your why and go, yeah, but you know what? I'm making progress on my skin rash, or I'm sleeping better at night, or like, you want to know what that why is. We're not necessarily going to discuss these together unless there's something that speaks to you. We're not going to go over them as a group, but I invite you to consider sharing answers to these 3 next week if you like, and truly hope that if you gain any insights while playing with the questions, you'll be willing to share those with the group as well. So next week, if you want to, you can share what it is that gets you excited about releasing the sugar, because maybe that's going to inspire somebody else to be excited as well. What beliefs might be holding you back, because then we can maybe help you create some strategies for those. And where do I feel that I need some more support? Okay. Support. One of the best things about this play group is being here to support each other and share our inspirations, our successes, and our challenges, right? So if you want to consider sharing these things with us next week, that's great. And if not, we'll have other things to share, okay? So let me get a drink. Let's talk about your playtime activities. We're going to play with the what else list, right? The entire list of options that we discussed, which is not entire at all, will be in today's email. You can use those suggestions to continue building your own personalized list. You can keep your top 10 favorites on a list in your phone or your purse, or post it on a Post-it note where you can see it every day so you remember these things, right? So it's going to be easier to remember to use these things when we need them if we practice playing with them a lot of the time, right? Not just when we're under pressure. Regulating our emotions is a practice, and the more we practice, the better we get, the less we need to turn to food. So, a playtime activity called List Every Success. You can play with this in your notebook. Every time you use the what else list instead of reaching for sugar, that's a huge success. And I want you to write it down and celebrate yourself. Every time you are kind and supportive of yourself rather than critical, write it down on your success list. Every time you make time for your playtime activities, it's a success. Count it on your list. Put it in your notebook. Every time you come to the Zoom sessions or watch the recording afterward, you are succeeding in your goal to make changes. Every time you have an insight or enjoy your food or feel good about yourself, list this success, you guys. All of these are success, and we're helping to rewire our thoughts and behaviors. We want to acknowledge every single one. So list every success, keep a running list in your notebook, read that list out loud, celebrate yourself for every single success. We're wanting to feel good. We're wanting to regulate our emotions into a positive feeling place. This is training us to feel good about ourselves, right? We're rewiring those brains. So playtime activities include choosing your game level. If you have not done so, now is the time. Have you decided which level is right for you? Do you have some more questions? If you do, stay on afterwards, after the share is done here in a couple of minutes, or reach out by email if that's easier. Continue creating a list of foods that you love. The list of foods that I provided last week will be in your email again today. Finish cleaning that kitchen of any unwanted foods, any temptations that may trigger you during our 3 weeks release, which starts next Sunday. Play with those 10 questions on intention setting. Those will also be in the email today. Watch any number of videos from that list that I gave you last week, and those will also be linked in the email. Are there any questions? So I actually am going to stop the share here. Let me figure out how I do that. But before we move on, I know I promised you guys this week I was going to talk about how to be with the sugar cravings without giving into them. I screwed that up. That was meant to be for next week, the starting day of our release, so that it's fresh in your mind. So I'm definitely going to share that with you next week. I promise it's coming. There's the stop share button. and start video. And here I am. Hi, hi, hi. Hello, Maria. I see that you're here with me. Like I said, Laura's moving her grown children across the country. Do you have any questions at all on any of the stuff that I just talked about? Do you have any questions about which level you're planning on doing? Anything at all that you want to share? This is the time, girlfriend. And if not, then we'll call it a day. And the recording will be in your email later today, available for you to rewatch. Oh, I see. My audio isn't working right. I'm not sure about the level. Okay, do you have any questions? You can put them right there in the chat for me. Or you can text me later if you don't feel comfortable, sharing that here on the recording. You certainly don't have to. Okay, so let me just, we still have plenty of time. So let me just quickly remind you what the different levels were. The base level is that we're releasing the negative self-talk and the sugar. Everyone's doing that. Beyond that, the next level is releasing the sugar and the negative self-talk and any foods that you may currently suspect are causing you trouble. Like for me, the dairy, it's like I knew the dairy was a problem long before I found out that I had sensitivities to it. I would get sinusy when I ate ice cream. I would get irritable bowels the next day when I would eat too much dairy. So I knew there was kind of an issue there. So if you have a food that's kind of causing you some problems, it's something that you suspect may be one of the foods that's causing inflammation in your system or that's irritating your system, we would release that in level 2. In levels 3 and 4, you release either the dairy or the wheat in level 3. So like you release the sugar, the negative self-talk, and anything you suspect, plus you're releasing either the dairy or the sugar. And level 4, you release the dairy and the sugar, right? And I'm sorry, the dairy and the wheat, my bad. The dairy and the wheat. And on level 4, you release the dairy and the wheat, right? So level 3 is or dairy or wheat. Level 4 is dairy and wheat. And the reason that I picked those two particularly is because they are so many people are highly sensitive to them, and they can cause all kinds of intestinal symptoms and inflammation, which is one of the big things that releasing can help us get relief from so many of those symptoms. And then the 5th level is just you do you, like whichever combination of all of the above that works for you, right? So you just decide to which level you want to participate. Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to make a choice until you're shopping on Saturday, right? So like at the last minute, if you decide I really want to give up the wheat, then you want to just make sure that the bread is not on your list. That's all. So Sunday is actually our first day. Next Sunday, Father's Day, the 18th, we begin the release. So there would be like no sugar at all and whatever else you're letting go of. So yeah. And like I said, all of the information from last week's email is going to be in today's email as well. So all of the information that you need, all of the links, everything will be coming in today's email after I've had time to process our recording. Okay. Other questions, Maria? And then Laura, I know that you're watching this back on the recording. If you have any questions, just text me and we'll go from there. You know what? All those sugar videos are great, right? Maria says, cool beans. I watched one of the sugar videos. It was great. We are definitely going to watch at least one of them together as well during one of our sessions, possibly 2. All of them are just it's incredible. To me, it's incredible the amount of information that's out there about how poisonous sugar actually is for our system, and they're still allowed to sell it. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox because I do enjoy sugar. I'm not gonna lie. I just had, 3-day birthday weekend and I absolutely had birthday cake. I'm not gonna lie. And it was great. It was wonderful. But I also feel kind of depleted today after eating off plan for a few days. So I'm absolutely looking forward to being back on the release wagon. Actually, probably starting today. I'm not gonna wait till next week. I had 3 days of birthday overload, so I'm good to go. All right, everybody. If that's it for this morning, that's cool. And I'll look forward to speaking to each of you throughout the week. If you have any questions, reach out with your questions. And I'll see you next Sunday at 10 a.m. All right. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you tremendously.